Ruth, and I'm from the Butler County Farm Bureau. And I'm here today with Flat Aggie, and we're going to talk to you about pumpkins. We're going to read the book. It's called How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin? How many seeds in a pumpkin? Charlie liked school. He liked his teacher, Mr. Tiffin. He liked his best friend, Alex, but he did not like lining up to go into school. Mr. Tiffin's class lined up by size, the tallest to the smallest, or the smallest to the tallest. Charlie was the smallest in the class every time. Here's Charlie. One chilly fall morning, Charlie was surprised to see 3 big orange pumpkins on Mr. Tiffin's desk. One pumpkin was big, one was medium-sized, and one was small. How many seeds in a pumpkin? Mr. Tiffin asked the class. Does anyone know? Nobody knew, but everyone had ideas. The biggest one has the most, said Robert. I bet it has 1 million seeds. Robert was the tallest boy in the class. The medium one has 500, Eleanor said. Eleanor always sounded as if she knew exactly what she was talking about. The tiny one has 22, said Anna. Anna liked even numbers better than the odd ones. Mr. Tiffin wrote down all the guesses on the blackboard. Charlie was very quiet. What are you thinking, Charlie, said Mr. Tiffin. I'm thinking that all the best guesses are taken, Charlie said. Why don't you open these pumpkins up and see, said Mr. Tiffin. So they're going to find out how many seeds are in there. The next day, the kids in Mr. Tiffin's class brought in spoons for scooping and bowls for holding and plastic bags for throwing out stuff. They covered the floor with newspapers. Then they put on their smocks. It's a messy business counting pumpkin seeds, said Mr. Tiffin, but the class was ready. After Mr. Tiffin cut a circle around each pumpkin stem, Kimmy, Alex, and Jake pulled off the caps. The children peered inside. Oh, this big one definitely has the most, said Robert. We'll see, said Mr. Tiffin. The pumpkin pulp was slimy and stringy, and the seeds were hard to get out. When the children were finished, there were 3 empty pumpkins and 3 full bowls and 20 messy hands. Tomorrow we can find out the answer to our question, said Mr. Tiffin. Tonight your homework is to think about how we should count all the seeds. That afternoon, Mr. Tiffin dried the seeds. The next day, he put them in 3 paper bags marked big, medium, and small. Did you do your thinking homework, he asked the class. Yes, said Alex, I think we should just guess. I think we should count very, very carefully, said Tara. I think we should count by 2s, by 5s, and by 10s, said Molly. The class agreed that Molly had a good idea. Robert, Kimmy, and Jake all wanted to count the seeds in the big pumpkin by 2s. Anna asked if she could join them. We can be the 2s club, she said. They practiced counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. They all said together. Jeremy, Tara, Eleanor, Molly, and Alex liked counting by 5s. We'll count the seeds in the medium pumpkin, said Molly. We can be the 5s club. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, they cheered. I'll take the smallest pumpkin, said Charlie. I guess I'll be in the 10s club. Good idea, said Mr. Tiffin. 10, 20, 30. Charlie began counting. Soon there were many groups of seeds in front of each pumpkin. Oh, look at the 2s club. See, said Robert, the 2s club had the most. They had 170 pairs of seeds. We have lots too, said Eleanor. We have 63 groups of 5 seeds and 1 seed left over. This one clear up there. Charlie had exactly 35 groups of 10 seeds. Robert looked at the seeds in front of Charlie. You don't have a whole lot, he said. Let's start counting, said Mr. Tiffin. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 began Robert, Kimmy, Jake, and Anna. It took a long time to count to 170 pairs of seeds. My brain hurts, says Anna. The biggest pumpkin had 340 seeds, almost a million, Jake thought. The 5s were a little easier. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, chanted Jeremy, Tara, Eleanor, and Molly. There were 316 seeds in the medium pumpkin. Too bad for you, said Robert. This isn't a contest, said Molly. So the bigger pumpkin so far has the most seeds, doesn't it? The 10s were the fastest of all since there were 35 groups. 10, 20, 30, 40. Charlie counted to himself. This can't be right, he said. What can't be right, said Mr. Tiffin. There are 350 seeds in my little pumpkin, said Charlie. That means it has the most seeds of all. So it does, said Mr. Tiffin. Congratulations, Charlie, said Alex. The 10s Club wins. This is not a contest, said Robert. Mr. Tiffin told the class to gather around. You can never tell just how many seeds are in the pumpkin until you open it, he said, but there may be some clues to it. Take a good look at these pumpkins. The class did. Charlie's is darker orange, said Anna, and it has more lines on the outside, said Robert. Yes, said Mr. Tiffin, for each line on the outside, there are a row of seeds on the inside of the pumpkin. That's good to know, said Eleanor. And the larger the pumpkin grows, the more lines it gets, he said. Its skin gets darker, too. So even though your pumpkin was the smallest, it was on the vine the longest time, said Charlie. Exactly, agreed Mr. Tiffin. When it was time to go home, the class lined up by the door. Smallest to the tallest this time, said Mr. Tiffin. Robert was at the back, Eleanor was in the middle, and Charlie was in the front of the class. Small things can have a lot going on inside of them, Charlie said to Mr. Tiffin. And then they left the class with Charlie leading the way. So this is how to count the seeds in your pumpkin. But I have a little project for you to do. This project that I'm going to have for you is called Can You Find My Pumpkin? And your teachers should all have the materials by now to do this. Everybody should get the orange pumpkin that looks like this. Okay, what I want you to do is in this activity, be very careful to listen because your teacher is going to have specific directions for you, okay? First, I want you to cut it out so that it is just the pumpkin left. Now, after you've finished cutting it out, we're going to take the number of lines that we're going to draw on the pumpkin. And the number of letters in your first name is the number of lines that I want you to put on your pumpkin. So, my name is Ruth. My first name has 4 letters, R-U-T-H. So I would put 4 lines on my pumpkin, okay? So somebody that has a longer first name is going to have more lines on their pumpkin, aren't they? Okay, second thing I want you to do is I want you to make eyes on your pumpkin. And I want you to use the same color as your eye color, okay? The third thing I want you to do is I want you to draw a nose, okay? I want the boys to draw a triangle for their nose, and I want the girls each to make a circle for their nose. So as we go, we can tell if this pumpkin was made or created by a boy, could be created by a girl. Okay. The next one is in the smile. I want you to put the number of teeth that you have lost so far. So if you've only lost one tooth, you would only put one tooth in his smile. If you've lost a whole bunch of teeth, you'll have more teeth in his smile, won't you? And the last thing I want you to do is color the stem your favorite color. Okay? So when you get all done, this pumpkin will be unique, won't it? It'll be the only one that can be picked out as yours. So when you get done, you might want to hang them up around your room and guess whose is whose, because they will all be unique. They will all have specific things that it's only for the one that created it. Okay, this is all we have today for the pumpkins, but Flat Aggie and I want to invite you back next time when we'll talk about something else that has to do with ag in the classroom. Thanks, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.